Nobody told you this was happening. Not your news channel, not your social media feed, not the politicians who talk endlessly about competition with China while apparently watching a completely different version of events than the one unfolding in the real world. Here is what is actually happening. While the Western world debates whether artificial intelligence is going to take jobs sometime in the future, China already has robots performing surgery on patients 8,000 kilometers away from the operating surgeon. While Western cities argue about whether autonomous vehicles are safe enough to test on public roads, 15 million new Chinese cars rolling off production lines this year will drive themselves without a human touching the wheel. While Western delivery companies are still navigating union negotiations about drone delivery pilot programs, a single Chinese company has already completed over 300,000 autonomous drone deliveries and is doing it accurately to the exact minute. The gap between what China has built and what the Western world thinks China has built is one of the most significant information failures of the current era. And the people most affected by that gap are the ones who do not yet know it exists. Today we are going to close it. Every technology in this video is real. Every number is verified. Every capability described is operational today, not in a roadmap, not in a research paper, not in a funding proposal. In the physical world, doing real things for real people right now. By the time we finish, your understanding of where the world actually is versus where you were told it was will be permanently different. And you will understand exactly why the countries watching China most carefully are the ones reacting with the most urgency. Hit the like button right now. Research at this depth takes significant time, and every like directly helps it reach the people who need to see it. Subscribe and turn on notifications. This story does not pause between videos. Let us go. Start with something simple. Lunch. In most countries, ordering food delivery is a negotiation with uncertainty. You place the order, you wait, you check the app, you wait some more, you accept that the estimate was optimistic, and you eat whenever the driver navigates traffic successfully enough to reach your door. China decided that entire experience was unnecessarily inefficient and engineered a replacement. Meituan operates a network of autonomous delivery drones across multiple Chinese cities. The promise is 15-minute delivery. Not approximately 15 minutes, not 15 minutes under ideal conditions. 15 minutes, accurate to the minute, because the drone is not navigating traffic, it is navigating air. The route is predictable, the timing is calculable, the delivery is precise. 300,000 deliveries completed. Not in total, across a multi-year pilot program. 300,000 deliveries completed, and the number is climbing daily. This is not a trial, it is infrastructure. The kind of infrastructure that, once people have experienced it, makes the previous system feel like something from a different century. In rural China, where road infrastructure has always been the limiting factor in connecting communities to modern supply chains, JD.com operates agricultural drones capable of carrying up to 30 kilograms of cargo. The company calls them pickup trucks in the air. The description is functionally accurate. Villages that previously had no realistic access to fast delivery now receive packages through autonomous aircraft, navigating rural landscapes without a single human operator involved in the flight. Access to modern logistics was once determined by whether a road reached your community. China just made roads irrelevant. But the sky above China is doing considerably more than delivering lunch. 15 million cars. That is how many new vehicles will roll off Chinese production lines this year with full autonomous driving capability as a standard feature. Not premium, not optional. Standard. 2 out of every 3 new cars manufactured in China in a single calendar year. The vehicle that illustrates what this actually means at the frontier level is called the Guowan. Describing it as a self-driving car is like describing a supercomputer as a calculator, technically in the right category, completely wrong about what the thing actually is. The Guowan has an artificial intelligence system called Simo, not a navigation assistant, not a voice command interface, an AI that understands context, holds conversation, makes real-time decisions across 11 high-definition cameras, 12 ultrasonic sensors, and 5 radar systems delivering 508 trillion operations per second of processing power, more sensing capability than many military drones currently flying active missions. The specific capability that stops people when they hear it is this. You can be standing 2 kilometers from your car, speak to Simo, and the car will navigate public roads, manage intersections, handle other traffic, and arrive at your location. No human input from the instruction to the arrival. You say come and it comes. Unprotected left turns in dense urban traffic, which autonomous driving researchers consider one of the most demanding real-world scenarios because it requires simultaneously predicting the behavior of oncoming vehicles, crossing pedestrians, and cyclists. The GUA-1 handles without breaking from normal operation. It is not a capability reserved for controlled environments. It works in the traffic conditions Chinese cities actually have. Now meet what BYD built while all of that was happening. The Yangwang U8 is an SUV, available in dealerships today, and it does things that require you to watch them happen before your brain will accept they are real. 4 independent electric motors, 1 at each wheel, capable of operating in directly opposing directions simultaneously. This allows the U8 to rotate 360 degrees in place, not a partial turn. A full rotation on its own axis while stationary, sitting still and spinning. The physics of this are not complicated. 4 wheels pulling in 4 different directions around a central point creates rotation. But seeing a full-size production SUV execute this on a normal road surface produces a reaction that the explanation alone does not prepare you for. Then comes the water. The U8 is rated to enter water nearly 5 feet deep, seal completely, and float. Once floating, the wheel motors generate sufficient thrust through controlled rotation to propel the vehicle through water at 3 kilometers per hour. It can sustain this for 30 minutes. Not a modified vehicle, not a special edition. The production version you purchase from a dealership. A vehicle that drives on roads, rotates in place, and operates as a boat when required. The IM Motors L6 extends the engineering creativity in a different direction. Its 4-wheel steering and independent motor configuration allow it to move laterally into parking spaces, reducing the physical footprint required for parallel parking to less than 5 meters, roughly half the space a conventional vehicle needs. In cities where parking has been a daily source of stress for decades, this is not impressive engineering for its own sake. It is a practical solution to a practical problem experienced by millions of people every day. And then there is the car that broke records while being able to dance. The Yangwang U9 reaches 100 kilometers per hour in 2.36 seconds. A Lamborghini Huracan takes 2.9, a Ferrari SF90 takes 2.5. The Rimac Nevera, currently the fastest production electric vehicle ever built, takes 1.97 and costs over $2 million. The U9 at $236,000 sits in this company and sells for less than half the price of the Ferrari. But the number that makes automotive engineers stop is not the acceleration figure. It is the suspension response time. BYD's DiCES X system processes inputs and responds with suspension adjustments in 40 milliseconds. 40 milliseconds is faster than the human nervous system can register a physical stimulus. The practical output of this is a car that can lift individual wheels independently, absorb obstacles at speed, and synchronize its suspension movements to external input, including music. The U9 can perform choreographed routines where a 1,287 horsepower supercar moves in rhythmic patterns to a beat. Watching it happen is the kind of experience that makes you question what the category of car actually means anymore. In testing, the U9 reached 496 kilometers per hour. The fastest production car's speed record. The fastest Chinese vehicle ever built is the fastest production car on Earth. BYD simultaneously became the first automaker in history to produce 10 million new energy vehicles. The company that builds the fastest production car in the world is also the company that has electrified more vehicles than anyone in automotive history. That combination should not be possible by the conventional logic of automotive development timelines. It is happening anyway. Here is a number that reframes the entire conversation about where autonomous vehicle technology actually stands. 85%. That is the proportion of Chinese citizens who report being fully comfortable riding in a vehicle with no human driver. The equivalent figure in the United States is 39%. The gap between those two numbers is not a cultural quirk. It is the direct result of exposure. China is more comfortable with autonomous vehicles because its population has been using them long enough to form opinions based on direct experience rather than theoretical concern. Autonomous taxi services are operating across 19 Chinese cities simultaneously. 16,000 test vehicles, 32,000 kilometers of designated roads, an ecosystem of real-world autonomous transportation at a scale that makes any individual Western city's testing program look like a single experiment within a single block. The charging infrastructure required to make electric vehicles genuinely practical has arrived alongside this. BYD's current fast charging system adds 400 kilometers of range in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That figure makes the conversation about charging time versus refueling time essentially irrelevant. The electric car wins. For the first time in the history of the technology, charging an electric vehicle is faster than filling a tank with petrol. Now, the number that makes everything else feel slow. China's magnetic levitation train program has produced operational vehicles traveling at 404 miles per hour. In prototype testing, systems have exceeded 620 miles per hour. 620 miles per hour in a sealed tube running above a magnetic track. Commercial aircraft cruise at approximately 570 miles per hour at altitude. A Chinese train in a vacuum tube is outrunning planes. Beijing to Shanghai, a journey of over 1,000 kilometers, takes 2.5 hours by this system compared to 4.5 hours by current high-speed rail. By car, the journey is 14 hours. By the time the full network reaches operational status, distance between Chinese cities will be measured in what you can accomplish during transit rather than how long the transit takes. The ride quality at these speeds, inside a sealed, magnetically suspended vehicle with no contact between train and track, produces none of the vibration, noise, or weather sensitivity associated with conventional rail. You simply sit and arrive. Here is where the story shifts from impressive infrastructure to something with generational implications. This year, Beijing made artificial intelligence education compulsory for every child from age 6. Every child. From their first year of formal schooling, a minimum of 8 annual hours of structured AI curriculum, with 184 designated pilot schools running significantly more intensive programs covering machine learning, natural language processing, and autonomous systems at age levels that would have seemed implausible even 5 years ago. The children entering Chinese schools this year will reach the workforce in the 2040s. By that point, artificial intelligence will not be a tool they learn to use as adults navigating an unfamiliar system. It will be a cognitive framework they developed in childhood alongside reading and mathematics. The competitive implications of that across a 20-year horizon represent one of the most underreported strategic developments in current international affairs. In 2024, a Chinese construction consortium completed a highway section using exclusively autonomous machinery. 0 human operators involved in the construction process, from groundbreaking to final surface completion. 100 self-driving hauler trucks operating continuously, each carrying 85 tons of material, functioning in temperatures reaching 40 degrees below 0 Celsius, without operator intervention. 10 autonomous road rollers. 2 GPS-guided automated pavers constructing the highway surface with algorithmic precision that produces surface consistency, exceeding what human-operated equipment delivers under optimal conditions. The target for autonomous construction vehicle deployment by end of year is 5,000 units operating across China. At the current rate of program scaling, industry analysts consider this figure conservative. The most striking aspect of this story is the one most coverage skips past entirely. The robots building roads are building roads that other robots will drive on. An ecosystem of autonomous infrastructure creating and using itself simultaneously. The human role in this loop is shrinking at a pace that most planning frameworks have not yet accounted for. 62 Chinese airports process passengers entirely through facial recognition systems. No ticket, no passport, no boarding pass, no interaction with any member of staff. You approach, the system identifies you against flight records and security databases, and you proceed. The full process, from the moment you enter the facility to the moment you board, takes 12 seconds per passenger at optimized checkpoints. Shanghai Hongqiao Airport has eliminated the concept of a travel document for domestic passengers. Your face is the document. Beijing Capital Airport operates over 600 biometric checkpoints, 250 automated gates, and 80 self-service processing stations. Throughput rates at peak hours exceed what the same facilities achieved with full staffing levels before biometric systems were installed. Beyond airports, more than 200 million surveillance cameras are networked across China into a real-time identification system. The Skynet program, officially designated, can identify any individual captured by any networked camera, cross-reference that identification against criminal, financial, and behavioral databases, and generate a response in seconds. Police officers in certain jurisdictions wear AI-equipped helmets scanning crowds continuously, flagging individuals against law enforcement databases without any deliberate search action required from the officer. The scan is passive and continuous from the moment they enter a public space. The capability this represents raises questions about civil liberties, the appropriate scope of state surveillance, and the protection of individual privacy that are among the most important policy discussions of the current era. What is beyond question is the technical reality. This system works at scale with accuracy that has no equivalent anywhere else in the world. Payment systems in China have moved past cards and phones to biology. WeChat's Palm payment system reads the vascular network beneath the skin of a user's hand. The pattern of veins is more individually distinctive than a fingerprint, more difficult to replicate, and more resistant to damage and environmental interference. A scan takes milliseconds. The transaction completes without the user removing anything from a pocket, bag, or wallet. More than 1,500 retail locations are currently operational with the system. University campuses use it for all on-site transactions. Transit networks use it for fare payment. Hospitals use it for patient payment processing. The error rate across millions of completed transactions is less than 1 occurrence per million. The trajectory of this technology removes the entire category of payment device from the requirements of commercial interaction. You carry nothing, you show nothing. You hold your hand near a reader and the transaction processes. In a country that moved from cash to mobile payment faster than any other economy in history, the move from mobile payment to biometric payment is following the same adoption curve at the same speed. Now, the part that produces the strongest reaction from anyone who encounters it for the first time. X-Robots operates a manufacturing facility producing humanoid androids. Robots engineered to replicate human appearance and behavior with a physical fidelity that makes the distinction genuinely unreliable at close range for observers who have not been informed they are looking at a machine. Each unit requires approximately 1 month of production time. The skin surface replicates human pore structure. The eyes maintain natural moisture. The facial actuation system delivers 140 distinct expressions covering the complete range of human emotional communication. The technology does not approximate human appearance. It replicates it at a level of detail that consistently surprises people who experience it without prior expectation. Price per unit currently sits at approximately $280,000. Production rate exceeds 500 units per year. Over 200 units are already deployed in operational environments. Hotels, government information services, science museums, schools. The company has additionally produced robot versions of historical figures: Albert Einstein, Stephen Hawking, Thomas Edison. Each unit contains knowledge bases drawn from the historical record of the person it represents and engages in extended conversation about their life, work, and ideas. The first dedicated robot museum in China houses these figures for public interaction. The implication that sits underneath all of this, stated plainly, is this. Within a period measured in years rather than decades, a trained observer will be required to reliably distinguish a humanoid robot from a human being in a professional service environment. An untrained observer will not be able to do so consistently. The social, economic, and ethical implications of that capability threshold being crossed represent a category of challenge that most current regulatory and policy frameworks are not designed to handle. The Unitree G1 humanoid robot costs $16,000. Place that number next to the price of comparable capability from Western robotics companies, and the competitive reality of what China has built becomes immediately clear. Western humanoid robots with similar movement and manipulation capability are priced in hundreds of thousands of dollars. The G1 is $16,000 and the price is declining as production scales. It stands 1.32 meters tall, 23 articulated joints. It walks, runs, climbs stairs, and manipulates objects with stability and precision that does not degrade over extended operation cycles. The movement quality consistently surprises first-time observers because the reference expectation, shaped by decades of robotic movement that was obviously mechanical, does not match what the G1 actually does. The Unitree Go 2 robotic dog extends this into a different form factor, 15 kilograms. Operational speed exceeding 11 miles per hour. Capable of backflips, cartwheels, and adaptive locomotion over terrain that would prevent most ground vehicles from functioning. 360-degree LiDAR sensing with effective range to 5 centimeters, voice command recognition through GPT integration. At the Asian Games in Hangzhou, Go 2 units worked on the athletic field, transporting discus and javelin between events. The crowd response was described by attendees as one of the most enthusiastic, non-competitive moments of the Games. Police forces and military units in multiple countries are currently deploying these platforms for reconnaissance, perimeter security, and terrain assessment in environments considered too hazardous for human personnel. The transition from demonstration to operational military deployment happened faster than most defense analysts publicly predicted. The medical applications of what China has built deserve specific attention because the human stakes are most immediately visible here. Automated venipuncture systems use computer vision and robotic precision to identify veins and execute blood draws with a consistency rate that exceeds average human clinical performance. The robotic system does not vary with operator skill level, time of shift, fatigue, or procedure volume. Every draw is executed with the same precision as the first, regardless of how many have preceded it that day. Autonomous medication delivery robots navigate hospital corridors, collecting dispensed prescriptions and delivering them directly to patient wards with documented accuracy that exceeds manual delivery systems. Medication errors, one of the most significant sources of preventable patient harm in hospital systems globally, are eliminated by systems that cannot misread a label, confuse a patient, or become fatigued. Remote surgery has advanced from demonstration to standard clinical practice in specific Chinese medical contexts. Surgical teams in major urban centers perform procedures on patients in remote regions using robotic systems over high-bandwidth communication links. The surgeon's movements are translated to robotic action at the patient site, with latency measured in milliseconds. Specialist surgical capability is now accessible to patients regardless of their physical distance from the nearest specialist surgeon. China has operationalized the world's first AI-staffed medical facility, 14 robotic physician units and 4 robotic nursing units managing patient throughput of 3,000 cases per day. Diagnostic accuracy in evaluable cases has been independently measured at 93%. That figure compares favorably with documented human physician accuracy rates across comparable diagnostic categories at comparable patient volumes. Agriculture, which looks least like the frontier of technological development from the outside, is where some of the most significant productivity transformations are happening. The DJI Agris T100 agricultural drone carries 100 kilograms of seed or pesticide payload, flies autonomous routes across crop fields, operates through the night using sensor guidance, and covers area at rates that make manual application economically uncompetitive. A single unit replaces a team of human operators across a working day. The 108-arm cotton management robot uses camera and sensor arrays to identify and process individual cotton plants with a precision that manual workers cannot maintain at operational speed. Coverage rate, 26 to 40 hectares per day. Human equivalent, a team working multiple extended days. GPS-guided autonomous transplanting systems plant crops across 6 to 7 hectares per day. The equivalent human labor requirement is 80 to 100 workers for the same daily output. In a country managing food security for the world's largest population, the productivity differential between automated and manual agricultural systems is not a marginal efficiency gain being pursued for competitive advantage. It is the difference between sustainable agricultural economics and a labor cost structure that the available workforce can no longer support. Now, pull back and look at the complete picture. Delivery drones completing 300,000 orders with minute accuracy. 15 million autonomous vehicles entering production in a single year. An SUV that drives into floodwater and floats. A supercar that dances. Trains faster than aircraft. Compulsory AI education from age 6. Highways built entirely by robots. Airports processing passengers in 12 seconds through facial recognition. Palm payment in 1,500 locations, humanoid androids indistinguishable from humans at close range, robots performing surgery across thousands of kilometers, AI physicians handling 3,000 patients per day at 93% diagnostic accuracy. Agricultural robots doing the work of 100 people in a single day. This is not a list of separate impressive achievements from separate sectors happening to occur in the same country. This is a single coherent strategy executing simultaneously across every domain that matters for the next 50 years of human civilization. Transportation, medicine, food production, manufacturing, education, infrastructure, security, payment, communication. No other country in history has attempted to lead across this many technological frontiers simultaneously. No other country in history has had the combination of centralized strategic direction, manufacturing scale, available capital, engineering talent, and regulatory flexibility to attempt it. The results are visible not in announcements and press releases, but in daily life, in the 15-minute drone delivery arriving at a door in Shenzhen, in the 6-year-old learning machine learning in a Beijing classroom, in the surgical robot executing a procedure in a remote province while the surgeon sits in a city 1,000 kilometers away. The future that Western science fiction spent decades imagining as something that might happen by the end of the century is operational in China in 2026. The question that follows from this is not whether it is impressive. The evidence is too extensive and too specific for that to be a genuine question anymore. The question is what the appropriate response is from every country watching this happen, and whether the urgency of that response currently matches the scale of what is being watched. On current evidence, it does not. The future is not coming. It is already running, it already has an address, and it is moving faster every quarter than the quarter before. If this gave you a picture of reality that your regular information sources were not providing, hit the like button. It makes a genuine difference to whether this reaches the people who need to see it. Subscribe and turn on notifications because every week this story adds another chapter and we will be there when it does. Drop a comment and tell me honestly which part of this landed hardest. I read every single one. See you in the next one.